Okay, so maybe I'm being a little over dramatic, but the reality is the Brazilian Olympic Committee is shocked the futsaling world by removing futsal from the youth games. Be very clear what this is and set the groundwork for this story. I think it's important to know what the youth games are and what the implications are for the youth Olympics. The youth games are a contest held within Brazil for their youth to identify and provide competition to their top athletes in Olympic sports. This is a contest that has been widely successful and has identified great talents that move on to represent the country in the Youth Olympics. It sees over 2 million children during the contest, if you include the qualification that leads up to the big event, which this year will be in September. And it creates a ton of exposure for the sports involved. So it was a massive gut punch to the futsaling world when the news broke that there was no longer going to be futsal, even though other Olympic games were being added to this curriculum. Now, to be fair, the 4 Olympic contests that were added this year are recognized at the adult level. Perhaps Brazil has decided that they ultimately want to continue to cultivate up to the sports that are recognized at that adult level. But what is perplexing to most is the fact that Brazil is a country that won gold in futsal in its first ever representation in 2018 in Buenos Aires, Argentina. And the fact that they are not particularly interested in continuing to cultivate that talent at the Olympic Committee level for 2026, which is to be hosted in Senegal, a country that was supposed to host it in 2022, but with the complications of COVID, the games were delayed for a full cycle. And a sport that its future was unclear for the Youth Olympics. Argentina had gone out on a limb, insisted futsal be a part of the games while they hosted it. And at first, it did not look like Senegal would be continuing on with futsal, as it's just not as popular in that country. But in the time that we have been afforded since 2018, it is looking more and more promising that Senegal will embrace futsal at their contest, at their Youth Olympics. So why is Brazil not prioritizing this sport that could immediately impact their youth? It is a massive question mark that has very few answers, but was received with condemnation from most of Brazil's futsaling world. You could look all over Twitter when the announcement was broke, and you saw everything from leagues to clubs to individuals condemning Brazilian Olympic Committee's decision to eliminate futsal from the contest. There are fears of what this means for the sport of futsal and its health as a whole, especially coming from a country where it is so wildly popular as Brazil. What do you guys think? Do you think that the Olympic Committee doesn't feel there is a need for development in futsal in its current state based on the rest of the infrastructure that's in Brazil? Or do you think that this is another major blow for the sport of futsal, regardless of what country it's in? I know for me personally, I'm concerned about the implications for what it means to get futsal in as an Olympic sport at an adult level. If one of the largest countries in the world and a current gold medal holder in the youth games is not showing interest in investing the time, resources, and the infrastructure to continue to cultivate their Olympic talent for a sport that they ultimately would be favorites for, what does that tell the rest of the Olympic Committee about our sport and the likelihood of it making it into the games? To me, I think this is a major blow, as Brazil is typically a massive proponent for the sport, and they are showing a chink in the armor, a weakness, so to speak, in their interest, which of course hurts all of our hopes of seeing futsal make it into the Olympics. Why don't you guys sound off in the comments and let me know what you think is going to come from this, if anything. And until I see you guys next time, don't forget to play with your soul.